weight loss companies don't have any other, they don't have a way of allowing you to lose weight faster. So what they simply say is, look, all you can do is 2 pounds a week, anything more has got to be unhealthy, because frankly, I don't know how to help you lose it faster than that.
Could you live on 2 of these a day and not much else? Well, if you did, you'd lose a ton of weight. Today, Dr. Al Lewis is here. He's author of Why Wait Around, Changing the Weight Loss Strategy. It's all about the 5-bite diet. It sounds completely crazy, but I guarantee it works. And I should know I've lost 20 pounds in 2 weeks on the diet. Great to have you here today, Dr. Lewis.
Thank you so much for having me. It's a lot of fun.
And, you know, I've interviewed so many people for health and fitness, and I think this show probably, truthfully, has had a bigger influence on me personally than any show that I've done, because I lost 20 pounds in 2 weeks on the diet, and I probably will lose another 10 pounds. I've eased up a little bit, but I'll tell you about that in a minute. But when I tell people about this, they all say, that's crazy. So I'm just going to start there with you. You know, well, first of all, what is the 5-bite diet?
Very simply, it's a dramatic portion control diet. You know, we hear about all the various diets out there, your meal substitute diets, your calorie counting diets, low fat diets. But really, if you ask people what the best diet is, they say, well, just simply eat less. And this is what I'm doing. I'm giving people a portion control diet that is very regimented, so they don't go astray. They can stick with it, and when you give somebody an exact regimen they can follow, people tend to do better. They know exactly what to do, and there's no chance for leniency.
And you call this basically the mental equivalent of stomach stapling.
In a sense, that's what it is. I mean, I'm a physician, and as such, you know, I obviously deal with a lot of medical problems, but I also work hand in hand with a lot of the physicians and surgeons who are associated with bariatric medicine, which is the weight loss. And in fact, I was speaking with a surgeon yesterday one of the big gastric bypass surgeons in our area, and it was and my diet stemmed from the idea of, hey, you know, if a gastric bypass is the right thing to do to the least healthy members of society, those people who are morbidly obese, who truly can least afford a medical complication, right? If a gastric bypass is the right thing to do for these people, then certainly a non-surgical gastric bypass would be good for the rest of us, particularly when you consider that you're not on it for that long and no surgery, none of the complications.
And you say, which I didn't realize, but people who have the gastric bypass, that they're allowed, what, 9 bites a day? Is that what it is?
Yeah, it's a couple bites. It's 2, 3 bites of food for a meal. They eat 3 times a day. The idea there being, I mean, this is the ultimate and dramatic portion controlled diet. You know, granted, after they've had surgery, you know, the physicians will tell these patients, you know, now you need to go home and eat a healthy diet. Reality is it probably doesn't happen. They probably go back to just eating whatever they were doing before. But frankly, it doesn't matter, because we know that those patients who have had the surgery are still going to drop up, you know, up to 100 pounds in the first few months.
And your diet, so you say you're giving them, if they get roughly 9 bites or whatever it is, but your diet, you give them 10 bites.
I give them 10. So I make it what I think is a little bit more practical. I give them 5 bites divided into 2 meals a day.
By the way, 5 bites is a Snickers bar.
That's exactly. It's a wonderful example. It's very exact in its volume, and I actually encourage people to eat Snickers bars to get an idea of the total volume that they ever should take in during a meal. And once they get into this, then they can switch maybe to other healthier foods, and they'll really be dropping the weight.
And see, and that's the thing right there, because I'm telling you people it works. I've lost the weight, but when you tell people you want them to live on 2 Snickers bars a day, they think you're crazy.
You know, it's pretty funny. You know, to me it just makes logical sense, but let me explain. Yeah, people just assume that Snickers bars are unhealthy. The reality is it's just a lot of sugar, but that's all that we as people use for energy anyway.
You're saying all the food gets converted to sugar.
Everything gets converted to sugar.
By the body, so.
Steaks, you know, obviously potatoes, all your carbohydrates are just complex sugars. 2 or more sugar molecules put together equals a carbohydrate. So all your carbohydrates are just basically pure sugars. In a large volume, but everything gets broken down to sugar, even lettuce, salad,
And I should say, just to clarify for people, that you do have a couple of other things. It's not just the Snickers bars or whatever. You say what? Drink a lot of fluids or water.
What I want them to do is I want them to have 5 bites of really anything, but a Snickers bar gets them into the volume that they should in total be expecting. I have them take a bite of protein a day. So one of your 10 bites a day should be of a higher quality protein, meats or chicken, fish.
Does a Snickers bar have
beans.
protein in it?
Yes, you've got your nuts in there, so sure.
Okay.
And then you've got I have people take a multivitamin, particularly if they're going to be on the diet for any extended length of time. Just to be sure that we're getting all the minerals and vitamins that our body needs. Although they are conserved, our body continues to recycle the minerals and vitamins that we use. They're cofactors that allow chemical reaction to take place. So they don't actually get used up very often. As such, our body just doesn't metabolize them. Once in a while, you might pee out a metabolite of a mineral or vitamin in your urine. So I just like to make sure that all of those minerals and vitamins are topped off. I just have you take a multivitamin once a day.
Okay.
And then you can drink anything that you want, as long as it doesn't contain calories.
Okay. Meaning water, diet soda?
Water, diet soda, coffee. I think it's phenomenal. Coffee, tea, black, please.
Just not a lot of
Yeah, just not a lot of exactly. But I think, for example, for breakfast, I think a wonderful breakfast is just a cup of black coffee.
And all I can say is, if you do this, and I followed it religiously for 2 weeks, and the weight just falls off.
It does. It just falls off.
And as I say, literally lost 20 pounds in 2 weeks. I went from, and by the way, I should say this is about my average adult weight. I'm usually running about 190. When I'm really good, I'm 180. When I'm bad, I'm 200. But I had gotten up to about 210, even 215, I think, the first time when we talked.
Right.
But I literally took off the 20 pounds in 2 weeks, and I expect I'll lose another 10 pounds in the next week or so.
Extraordinary. Extraordinary.
But so here's the thing: when people hear that, they say it's not safe, it's bad for. People always say you should lose 2 pounds a week. You want to tell us why?
Right. Yeah. The people who tell you that you should lose 2 pounds a day are people who
a
usually,
week, by the way.
I
did lose 2 pounds away on this diet.
Sorry, 2 pounds. My apologies.
Yeah.
2 pounds a week are you're hearing that from weight loss companies who don't have any other, they don't have a way of allowing you to lose weight faster. So what they simply say is, look, all you can do is 2 pounds a week, anything more has got to be unhealthy, because frankly, I don't know how to help you lose it faster than that. But once again, I always go back to the gold standard, the surgical gastric bypass. This is what physicians who've spent years in school, this is what they impose upon the least healthy members of society, right? And if it's healthy for the least healthy members of our society to drop weight at a couple pounds, 3 pounds a day at times,
and that's what you see.
Then certainly it's got to be good, especially if you haven't had the surgery. So once again, if ever somebody has a question about the health of this program, I simply refer them to a surgical gastric bypass. I ask them, well, let's suppose that you had the surgery. Would then it be okay? And they say, oh, of course, then it would be okay.
Well,
right? It doesn't make sense. Right?
And the truth is, you can get by on a lot less food than people think.
Absolutely. The reality is, Harrison, Principles of Internal Medicine, 15th edition, the Bible by which physicians practice medicine, chapter 74, the chapter on malnutrition, nutritional assessment, page 456. The last line of the first paragraph says that if you weigh enough, you actually don't need to eat a bite of anything for over a year.
A year.
Now that's just, it's outstanding. When I read that.
Not like water, you can only go for a fairly short period of time without fluids.
Yeah, they say about 3 days, because our body's constantly requiring sugar to run its chemical reaction.
But people have this thing then when they hear this, when about losing the weight quickly, that not to minimize eating disorders, but people think, oh, you're anorexic, or again, it's some kind of an eating disorder. Can you talk about that?
No,
why this is not anorexia?
Absolutely not. I mean, anorexia is a mental disorder. These are people who are extremely thin, they're gaunt, and they look at themselves in the mirror and they say, I'm way overweight. And that's due to a chemical imbalance in the brain. It has nothing to do with this diet. In fact, I believe that one of the things that we can do to help somebody who might have an eating disorder, bulimia or anorexia, is give them the ability to go on the 5-bite diet if they need to. I think that a lot of medical problems like anorexia or bulimia stem from the fact that these people feel they don't have control over their weight. So instead of allowing themselves to eat anything for fear that they might lose control and actually really put on the pounds, this gives people absolute control like you've never had before. You know that if you step on the scale, 3 months from now, and it's up 10 pounds. Don't ask me how, but it's up 10 pounds. No big deal. You know how to lose it. And it's that kind of control that people are looking for. And I think it's that kind of control that people who have anorexia are lacking. But again, that's a separate entity because it's truly a chemical imbalance in the brain. So you can't induce anorexia just by eating less.
We'll be right back with Dr. Al Lewis and the 5-Bite Diet. And we are back with Dr. Al Lewis today talking about the 5-Bite Diet, why wait around to lose that weight. And I think that's a good point you have is that, again, you can spend, I mean, honestly, again, my average weight, again, 190 is pretty much my adult average weight, but I put on some weight. And it was taking me a long time. I mean, I've been seasonal where I would lose it in the summer, put it on in the winter during the holidays, lose it in the summer. But this time I just couldn't lose it no matter what I did. And
so you probably try to get out and exercise more, run more.
Yeah, I was running, working out, doing all of that.
Right.
And so when I saw the weight loss losing or falling off, I mean, it was just, not only did it feel great, but I knew I was back in control.
That's
and again,
exactly right.
and your point about, why wait 6 months or a year to lose 20 pounds or 30 pounds? Lose it in a couple of weeks and then move on with your life.
If you have a goal, if you want to get down to an extraordinary weight, one where you feel tight and thin, really, really healthy so that you can live your life to its maximum potential, you want to get there as fast as possible.
Yep.
And the 5-Bite Diet gives you that ability. It gives you the ability to get to your ultimate weight quickly, predictably, safely. And it's extremely empowering when you do this. And you realize, you know what? I've got control. For the first time in my life, I have control.
Well, and the thing is, as I say, in a way, it took me back, but even more so to what I had been doing, because I always had these diets, and my one trainer would say you were on the cherry Coke diet, because they were low calorie, like 1,500 calories, maybe the most, sometimes maybe 1,200, but low calorie, and so I was thin, but he'd always say, oh, the nutrition's terrible, although, when you can find out you can live on a Snickers bar. Yeah. So then, but because of all the fitness shows and stuff I do, I was interviewing all these fitness people, and they say, oh, you should have 5 bites, or 5 meals a day, or 6 meals a day, and all this food. And I put on a ton of weight. I couldn't take it off.
Absolutely.
And finally, so when I would go on these diets, but I would only do them for a few days. I'd go 1,500 calories, and people say, oh God, you're going to starve yourself, you're going to kill yourself. Then you come along. Now, 2 Snickers bars a day is 560 calories, and I did that for 2 weeks. People were telling me I was going to kill myself on 1,500 calories a day, so I'd do it for a couple of days, and then not, then I'd eat more. And so now, for the first time, I had a doctor with science and medicine saying, no, it is safe. You're not going to kill yourself.
Absolutely.
And so that mentally, more than anything, I found out I could lose the weight, and I did, because for the first time, my doctor said to me, no, go for it.
Yeah, well, we've known about the science. We've known about the science and the biology for a long, long time. And that's where the whole gastric bypass thing began. And in speaking with some of my surgeon colleagues, they simply say to me, yeah, it's healthy, of course, it's safe, but how do you get somebody to actually stick to the program?
Right.
Because without the staples there confining your stomach, how do you help somebody with their motivation? Yes,
well,
it's
I'll
healthy.
tell you, my motivation was something we're doing for the networks. I had to lose the weight because I knew it was going to be on camera, and I didn't want it to look awful. But I can understand that, and so it was the combination. But even though I was serious about losing it for a certain reason, if I hadn't read your book, I still don't think I would have done it, because I was just stuck where everything I was normally trying didn't work.
That's exactly right.
And this did, and as I say, but just psychologically, knowing that a doctor said it's okay to do this, because the whole time I was on the diet, I mean, people would say to me, oh, you should, and you have a section in the book where you say, look, you've got to learn to tune those people out if you want to lose the weight and stay focused. And
just go for it. I mean, if you have a goal in mind, just go for it. This is healthy. We've got all the science in there, and if you question it, read the book. We've got to have the studies and the science behind why this is so healthy. But the bottom line is finding that motivation to get you there.
right.
Yes, trust me, it's good. It's extremely good for you. In fact, it's so good. I mean, anything you can do to get that weight off,
And especially the belly fat you talk about.
It's far healthier than any kind of potential complication you could get from the diet.
Because you mentioned in the book, they've done studies that if you're 1 pound overweight, that shortens your life.
Absolutely, it does.
Or let alone 5 pounds or 10 pounds,
10 pounds
or 20 pounds.
20 or 100, absolutely. And then Dr. Gelber and his group in the International Journal of Obesity published an article last March that showed even within the normal weight range, BMI of 18.5 to a BMI of 25, that the thinner you are in that range, the longer and healthier you live. You want to push toward a BMI of 18.5. So 1 year ago, like you, I was up to 190. 1 year ago.
And what are you today?
I'm 137.
137.
So
wow.
1 year ago, in about 40 days, I just dropped the weight like this, obviously using my diet.
And you're 6 feet tall?
I'm 6 feet tall.
Okay.
Which puts me at exactly a BMI of 18.5. So 1 year ago, after I finished this, and I felt phenomenal the whole time, just really, really empowered, full, and that's the key, is that you feel full, right?
Right. Well, and as you say, it is hard the first 3 days, especially because you are adjusting and resetting your. But
hunger
for me,
step, but after that.
No, and you also talk about whether or not you should weigh yourself every day, but I do. And for me, when I would step on the scale and see that I lost 3 pounds yesterday, that's
really motivating.
Anything. Yeah.
Right. And the whole key here is, of course, resetting that hunger stat. And I talk about this in the book. But once we've reset our hunger stat, the volume of food that fills you up, you're just flying. Because at that point, all you need to do is focus on the finish line, focus on your goal, and go, go, go until you get there.
Yep.
As I said, 1 year ago, I ended up at 137, which was exactly my target.
So you lost 50 pounds on the diet.
Exactly, about 40 days. Well, 30, it took me about 40 days, but it was a little more than 50 pounds. Let me think, 137. It was about 190. It was almost 60 pounds. Maybe not, yeah, so I was up a little bit above 190. 1 year ago, I ended up at 137. This morning, before coming to your show, I got on the scale, 137.
Wow.
And 10 years from today, when I step on that scale, the numbers will read 1, 3,
right.
and 7 in that order.
Because people say to me, what if you lose or regain the weight? And here's the thing. So I did it religiously for 14 days. I lost the 20 pounds. And then, I had some fantasy about food. I thought, well, when I get, because you talk about going on to, because this is not permanent. This is not the rest of your life. You do go back to a slightly more regular way of eating after that.
Right. It's a tool to get the job done. So
I had these fantasies about, I'm going to have a slice of pizza or something. Well, but in the past, what I would do is sometimes I'd have a cheat day and then I'd eat less. So I kind of overdid it the first day. I ate a lot. In fact, I ate like everything inside.
Right.
And then for a couple of days, I had a little hard time controlling my appetite because I just went so much the other way. Then what I did, though, I thought, okay, you know what? I'm going back on the diet. And that weight that I put on temporarily all dropped off. In fact, today I'm less than I was at the end of the 2 weeks. So I'm down to, like I say, about 191 roughly today. And now what I've done, I've actually increased it. This is about 560 calories. I've gone up to about 1,000, maybe 1,200 calories a day, and I'm still losing a pound or two a day.
Absolutely.
And because I'm still losing weight fast enough, and so I'm at 190, which is, for me, I'm happy. I want to get down to 180. So I'm doing it a little bit. I'm doing like the 15 bite a day diet now. Because but it's sustainable, and now I'm not crazy hungry and all of that.
And that's the point. It's sustainable. I have patients who talk to me and say, Doc, I just can't stick to 5 bites a day. Can I have 10? Can I have 12? And I'm like, absolutely you can. I just want to do something that works with you, but that also gets the job done without delaying it,
exactly.
5, 6, 7 months.
And I know if I fall off the wagon, I know how to lose that weight again fast.
Right. I feel that a 5-bite meal really, it affords you everything. It allows you to taste everything that's sitting in front of you. And frankly, once you've had a bite of something, you've had it. You don't need to keep eating bite after bite to reconfirm the next bite tasted just as good as the last bite.
Well, now what about, okay, there are all these nutrition studies that people have out there that say, again, you've got to have, all the different food groups, and you've got to have this and that and the other. So how, you talk about, whether or not the 5 bites can be anything and why.
Yeah, they can be. I mean, again, here, there's really 5 things that we get out of food that we need. The main one is sugar. That's our energy. That's our fuel. And that's what we use to run every single, function of the human body. The other things that we need, the protein, the minerals, the vitamins, and the essential fats and cholesterol, we've covered. I'm not worried about the fat and cholesterol. I don't think most people out there are, because in the United States, it's hard not to get enough fat in your diet. Yeah. The minerals and vitamins, granted, if you're only eating 5 bites, even salad, you're not getting in a lot of minerals and vitamins. So I just have people take a multivitamin just to ensure that they're getting all the minerals and vitamins that their body needs. And then lastly, the protein. The reality is we just don't need much. About 10% of our diet really should be composed of protein. But our body continues to break down and rebuild and break down and rebuild protein continuously. It continues to recycle the amino acids in our body. And the reality is, our body's pool of amino acids just doesn't change that much. So as long as we get a bite of protein a day, we're going to ensure that our body's total pool of amino acids is adequate. And frankly, that's all you need. So you don't need to worry about what you're eating. Everything
you say it could be ice cream. It could be 5 bites of ice cream.
Absolutely. And, I mean, think about it, right? when was the most important time of our development? When were our brains and our organs growing the most? At what time did nutrition matter the most?
When you're first born.
Yeah, how about the first year of life? And how varied was your diet there? Are you getting in all your salad and your apple a day, that sort of thing your first? No, you're living off of milk. And ice cream, if you think about it, its main ingredient's milk, right? The reality is all we really need are those 5 things. The main one being sugar. Milk, of course, is a great source of sugar. And the protein, the minerals, the vitamins. Milk's got it all. As long as we're getting those, your body needs nothing more. And I think people are just they're losing sight of just the simple biology, the simple way that this machine runs.
We will be right back with Dr. Al Lewis. And we are back with Dr. Al Lewis today talking about the 5-bite diet. And I just want to say, not only are you breaking all the rules with this diet, but you told me you live on In-N-Out Burger in McDonald's.
I have to admit, my diet is not the healthiest. And so, you know, as I'm rushing between the office and the hospital to see patients, I'll stop by McDonald's and pick up a cheeseburger, double.
And don't email me telling people I'm telling to live on McDonald's, because he's a doctor and he's doing it, so you're just hearing what he's doing. So
again, it doesn't matter what you eat. It really doesn't. I mean, eating is the most natural thing in the world. If you put it in your mouth and you can swallow it, it actually tastes good, fine, have it. There are a couple things that you need to look out for. You need to look out if you happen to have really high cholesterol, not to take in foods that are high in cholesterol. And you might want to be careful about known foods that have chemicals that we don't know a lot about. You know,
Okay.
but apart from that, you know, as I said, eating is very natural. I mean, just as long as it tastes good, go ahead and get it down. Your body will absorb the sugar that it needs, and you're good to go.
Are there any people this isn't right for if they need to lose weight? Like, what if you have diabetes or high blood pressure or anything like that? Is there anything you should be aware of?
Absolutely. Both those groups of patients need this diet more than anybody. In fact, I have put some of my diabetic patients on Snickers bars only. I started them, of course, on just 5 bites of healthy food. They couldn't stick with 5 bites. They would just lose track of how many bites they were actually eating, not losing the weight at the rate that I wanted them to. So I said, look, let's just make it simple. Please go get a bag of Snickers bars, have 1 for lunch, 1 for dinner, and let's make it easy. And sure enough, a week later, down 15 pounds. Blood sugars, believe it or not, lower than they had been before. And I'm pulling people off of blood pressure medication, diabetes medication, in some cases cholesterol medication.
So besides me, who I feel like I'm one of your patients, how many people have you treated with this, and what's the...
Hundreds. I don't have an exact tally, but hundreds. I've been doing this for 5 years now.
And what kind of results have you seen with people?
To date, I have not one person who actually weighs more today than they did when I first started talking with them. And I kid you not, we have some 4,000 pounds lost,
wow,
which is an extraordinary number. I mean, it's so
60 pounds
extraordinary.
yourself,
It's so extraordinary. I mean, as you can imagine, I'm putting all this information together. I'm writing the book. I'm amazing even myself. And I said, you know what? I can't just keep this to myself. I can't just let my patients know about this. I need to get this information out there because there's so many people out in America and around the world
who try this
who would
diet,
benefit from this.
What we all say afterward is, why doesn't everybody do this? Beforehand, everybody thinks it's crazy, and when you do it, you just think, my God, can it really be that easy?
Yeah, and it is, and that's the scary thing, is it really is that easy. You just got to do it. And once you've done it, you'll understand. I mean, people balk and balk, you know, they continue to put up, you know, one front after another saying, oh, you can't do it, it's unhealthy, et cetera, et cetera. Once they've done it, after the 3rd, 4th day, they're like, oh, that's it? And they understand, and now they're losing all this weight, and they can't stop talking about it.
We're running out of time, but I wanted to ask you about one of the other myths that you hear a lot is that, you know, if you don't eat whatever, you'll go into starvation mode, your metabolism will slow down, you know, you'll gain weight, all of that. Yeah. So why doesn't that happen?
Well, what happens is, I mean, if you're really putting very little in, yes, your metabolism can be very efficient, so it may slow down a touch. But actually, as you lose weight and you get to the weight that you're supposed to be, you then stabilize at that weight. So now you've gone back to eating the right volume that'll hold you there. Let me just make it just for those people out there who aren't familiar. Let's say they're overweight and they're eating this much food for lunch and dinner. Well, it's too much for them. They probably should be eating, say, an arbitrary that much. I don't know. Everyone's different, right? And this book will help you find that. But everyone needs to find the volume of food that's right for them. But I don't want them to start eating that volume now. It'll take months to get down to the weight that they want to do. And after all, if they want to achieve this extraordinary goal where they're going to live their life vigorously, full of energy, right? You want to get there as fast and as soon as possible. So I have them eat 5 bites. very healthy, very predictable, very safe, drop down to that magical weight, and then go back and find the volume that's going to hold them there. And it's a natural transition because I haven't restricted what you're eating in any way, and we're not doing some sort of tedious and difficult calorie counting. And the reality is, when you first start going back to eat more, if you're able to stick to the diet perfectly all the way through, you actually feel like you're eating too much. And boy, wouldn't a lot of people out there like that feeling?
Well, all I can say is people lose the weight. It's amazing. This is Dr. Al Lewis. The book is Why Wait Around? Changing the Weight Loss Strategy, about the 5-Bite Diet. Thank you very much for being here today, Dr. Lewis.
Enjoyed it.
Thanks for helping me lose the 20 pounds.
Absolutely. Anytime.
Thanks, everybody. We'll see you next time.